Thank you for joining us for another edition of INFOWARS Nightly News. It's Tuesday, April 17th, 2012. I'm Alex Jones. Tonight, Happy Enslavement Day, the day when Americans pay their tax to the private Federal Reserve. Then, the TSA expansion accelerates as Big Sis launches undercover TSA spies to ride buses in Houston, Texas. Next, New York Senator proposes equipping transit workers with tasers. Plus, Black Hawk helicopters over the city of Chicago. 6-year-old girl handcuffed by police for misbehaving at school. And Ted Nugent calls the Obama team a bunch of criminals. We'll also be joined by director and researcher Dan Dix as he blows wide open the inside job that was 9/11. Strap yourselves in. It's INFOWARS Nightly News. Let's jump right into our top story. Reuters reports that in the history of our republic, 235 years, we are seeing a record number of Americans who are expatriating, who are giving up their citizenship because they don't like the private Federal Reserve that is taxing them through the IRS that they set up in 1913 to rob the American people. And of course, this report dovetails with our top story from yesterday, where the IRS has had the law passed through the Senate. They claim they're going to get the votes in the House to bar you from leaving the country and take your passport if they say outside of a court and due process you haven't paid your taxes to the private Federal Reserve that's then transferred to Warren Buffett, Barack Obama, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers in the banker bailout, similar to the banking dictatorship they admit they've set up in Europe. But meanwhile, our children are being trained by the banksters to be good little slaves. Police handcuffed charged 6-year-old girl for misbehaving. When did cops become so cowardly and pathetic? Paul Watson asked at INFOWARS.com. This little girl simply threw a fit, and they don't let the teachers spank them. They don't let parents spank them. It's not against the law, but they tell you it is. So then when your child's out of control, the police come and take you to jail. It's one thing to take her to jail. It's another thing to charge her. By the way, one more little point on the whole IRS coup d'etat, which is French for coup d'etat, to quote Carlos from Hop. When you're looking at this whole situation, they've now announced that 30,000 plus U.S. troops that are delinquent in paying money to George Soros and the Federal Reserve and Ted Turner and the rest of them, that they're going to have their passports taken. So that's also up at INFOWARS.com. Continuing now with a very big story that we just came out with in the last few hours. It was on Houston TV. The Congresswoman is bragging about it, but it didn't get national attention. Now DrudgeReport.com is carrying it, the biggest news aggregator in the world. Homeland Security launches undercover TSA spies to ride Houston buses. This is actually nationwide, already going on, but now they're just admitting it. Feds out of their jurisdiction on buses listening to people for pre-crime behavior. Unbelievable. Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee unveiled the program, labeling bus safe. The feds are now over your buses. Why even have states? Of course, they're run by the foreign banks. So the foreign bankers now over your buses. During a press conference on Friday, according to Metropolitan Transit Authority of Houston, Metro press release, agencies involved in the scheme will ride buses, perform random bag checks, that'll be your testicles next, TSA always phases it in, and conduct canine sweeps, as well as special uniformed and plainclothes officers at transit centers and rail platforms to detect, prevent, and address latent crime activity and behavior. I thought TSA was fighting al-Qaeda, the same folks our government has attacking Libya, Syria, and other countries. No, the truth is Homeland Security is for you and your family. It is the foreign banker occupation squeeze meant to destroy this republic. It is the foreign occupational government that has hijacked our nation. So that story is just absolutely huge. You think you're just not going to fly and not have your kids have their genitals grow up by perverts? There's no stopping the pervert armies of the New World Order until we realize just how evil they are and say no en masse. And again, this report was also first picked up by HoustonFreeThinkers.com, doing a great job as well. They shot video off their TV screen of this quick clip of the Congresswoman worshiping the Nazi Germany Soviet-style takeover.
But that safety will apparently come somewhat at the expense of civil liberties. These officers will be able to search bags at random, and canines might be brought in. But you don't like the bag searches?
No, not at all. Because I can't like a lot of food and people always ask me for my food.
The Bus Safe program is a collaboration between the Congresswoman, Metro, Precinct 7 constables, and the TSA.
So let's be clear. The TSA, violating the 10th Amendment, is now going to violate the 4th Amendment with local police randomly searching people that are on buses. This was always the plan. Train everybody to accept it at airports, then phase in the bag searches, next the genital grope, next the strip search of old ladies. This is the total destruction of the Bill of Rights and Constitution. This is a criminal revolution against our Republican due process. And it's bipartisan. Our country has been conquered by foreign banks. Now, moving on to another transit story, New York senator proposes equipping transit workers with tasers. So now the regular city, county, state workers are going to be armed with these. And if you don't do what they say or mind all their orders, they're going to hit you with tasers. And they keep beefing the tasers up with more and more power. So now it's killing people. That's why they call them less lethal. Publicly, they're called non-lethal, but they're actually lethal. Now, moving on to the police state, there are thousands of urban warfare drills. You heard me right. When I was first covering this 16, 17 years ago, there were dozens of urban warfare drills, then hundreds by the mid-2000s, 2005 or so. Now, thousands. The Army takes over your town, small towns, big cities, Marines, foreign troops. They train the Boy Scouts to go door to door for gun confiscation. It's all acclimating you, just like TSA acclimates you for martial law and checkpoints and no due process and being searched and having your private parts touched to get you conditioned for it. This is helicopters over Chicago, explosions, conditioning, because our Lord and Savior, the foreign banks, are coming to town. They're for the G20, so they've got to train you good. Blackhawks and MH-6 Little Bird helicopters used by special forces circling low through downtown Chicago skies made a scary scene. Well, that's the point, to scare you, the slaves. The Chicago River as they rattled windows flying among the cities. And they're doing other warfare drills, men with automatic weapons, explosions, all of it. All part of slave training. And again, if you talk about it, it doesn't exist. It's black helicopters. You talk about the TSA grabbing your wife's breast and literally getting a hold and making sure those are real. If you don't like it, doesn't exist, you're anti-American. Because the American flag now is a pot-bellied pedophile molesting a small child or grabbing your wife's crotch. If you're not for that, get out of America. Move to North Korea. We learned everything from them. Okay, let's move to this next story. We're going to play a clip of Ted Nugent saying that the federal government, Obama, Hillary, others, are criminals. And they are. They ship tens of thousands of guns to Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. They've been caught shipping narcotics in, opium in. They've been caught giving billions of dollars to energy companies that don't exist. They are absolute mafia criminals. It's true. The problem is Bush was bought and paid for by the very same interest that own Obama and now own Romney. So I agree with everything he says in these clips about, you know, the government's criminal, it's destroying the Bill of Rights, it's wiping its butt with the Constitution. But the problem is that Romney is for gun control, open borders, wrote Obamacare, for carbon taxes. Sure, now he says he isn't. But when he was actually a governor and in policy, that's what he did. So, sure, I hate Obama, but the next puppet isn't enticing. But there's a new twist in this before we go to this clip. Secret Service looking into Ted Nugent's violent anti-Obama rant, the Canadian press. So now his speech is violent. Now his speech is bad. And tongue-in-cheek, he said he'd either be, quote, dead or in jail if Obama got elected, saying he was going to work his butt off to, and it was all tongue-in-cheek. I mean, are we going to arrest him for, I got you in a stranglehold, baby. I mean, is that now illegal? So it's this idea of the Secret Service, when they're not busy hanging out with prostitutes and everything, they're going to get Ted Nugent. And that report is in Yahoo News. Here's another one, a CBS News report, Secret Service investigating Ted Nugent. Why don't you investigate the New World Order bankers that hijacked this country? Oh, I forgot, you're collaborators with the New World Order in gutting this country. In fact, I want to introduce this idea. When the French got conquered through Vichy military that had stood down, the Nazis didn't defeat the French military. The entire French military stood down. A small British force fought them. And of course, their government made a double deal with Hitler, telling him to invade, and then they double-crossed him. But the point is that they're called collaborators. Everybody that serves this New World Order, everybody that goes along with butchering the Bill of Rights, Constitution, due process, let the White House and John Corzine steal billions, you're collaborators with a corporate takeover of America called the New World Order, and you will be held accountable. I may not make it through this, but let me tell you something. You are the enemy. As Brzezinski admitted 2 years ago, the people know about the elite now, and not just their front puppets like Obama and Mitt Romney. Not everybody is as political and dumbed down as poor old Ted, who we're supporting in his First Amendment. You know, Ted's like, well, lesser of two evils. But it's what the system put in to run against him. It's like a Don King boxing match, Ted Nugent. Both fighters are owned. Admit the whole thing's a fraud. Stop being a chump. And you talk about get together, wake up, defend America. You know, Obama hates the Constitution. Yeah, so did Bush with torture, Patriot Act, secret arrest. Yeah, now Obama's got NDAA, saying he'll arrest and kill whoever he wants. Maybe they'll kill you like they did Breitbart. I talked to a Fox News insider today, and he was totally freaked out. He said they did kill Breitbart. Fox News is being intimidated, is being threatened. Of course they are. Since when does George Soros' little Media Matters intimidate everybody? It's the front of the White House. The point is that these aren't quarter measures or half measures where Mitt Romney, who rules his own planet or whatever, is going to save us. He's another bankster. But again, don't let the facts confuse you. The point is we've got to support Nugent and his First Amendment. Here is his clip from the NRA.